Well, thank you, Justine, for that wonderful, warm welcome. Thank you, Lisa, for opening as well. And thank you particularly to Auntie Gwen for such a warm welcome to country. And can I also pay my respects to your elders, both past and present. And thank you again for your welcome to your country. This is a wonderful pleasure to be here at the Country Labour Forum here. I think it's important to recognise that the ALP at the national level has paid the most significant attention to this forum. The only two members of the party who are elected by all of the members across our great land, the party president and the party leader, are both attending this forum. Such is the importance of this forum for our party's future. I hope that gives you some confidence of the importance with which all of us attach the forum. This has been hard work to get to this place. I recognise that. There have been a lot of people who've done a lot of organising to bring all of us here together in this beautiful part of northern New South Wales. So many staff that Lisa has already referred to, members of the local FEA here in Page and in Justine's FEA in Richmond as well, I'm sure. But also the leadership of Joel Fitzgibbon must not go unremarked. He is a Joel is a relentless advocate for the interests of Country Australia and the interests of Country Labour in the Shadow Cabinet, along with Shane Newman, who's also a country representative in our Shadow Cabinet, and so many other caucus members. Warren Snowden's here, as well as Lisa and Justine. And they build on, as Justine said, an incredibly proud legacy that the Australian Labor Party has over 130 years in the bush, in rural and regional Australia, and we should never let anyone say otherwise. We have been as much the party for Country Australia as we have been for Metropolitan Australia, and we should always hold our heads up high and make that argument. And we were in our last period of government as well. That was a government that delivered for the bush. It was a government that made the most significant investment in regional health, if not in our history, certainly in anyone's living memory. We built regional cancer centres to close the gap in terms of cancer treatment between regional Australia and metropolitan Australia. We renovated hospitals across Country Australia, many of which had not seen a dollar for years, in some cases for decades, including the Lismore Base Hospital, the Casino Hospital here, which had its emergency department upgraded, and hospital after hospital after hospital across this great land. We started to lift the equality of access to mental health services for the first time, build clinical training schools so that young Australians in the bush could actually learn their medical professions in the bush rather than having to move away from their towns and move to Sydney, Brisbane and Melbourne. This was a fantastic record which we should be proud of. When we came to government, Australia was about 21st in the OECD in terms of infrastructure investment. When we left government, we were #1 in the OECD, and so much of that building, led by Anthony Albanese, was in the bush. So much of it, building the Pacific Highway. We still see the roadworks going on now in Page and Richmond, don't we, Janelle? So much of it in regional Australia. We had a renewable energy target that attracted billions and billions of dollars in investment, all to regional Australia. There are no large solar farms being built in Adelaide, I can assure you. All of those dollars, all of those jobs, all of that investment goes to regional Australia. We did education investment. We finally achieved 100 years of work that had been in the too hard basket of the nation's government to make sure that our greatest river system, the Murray-Darling Basin, would be sustainable, not just for current generations, but for future generations as well. And after furious lobbying, I can assure you, furious lobbying from Janelle Saffin and Justine Elliott, we made sure that the Commonwealth Government put in place controls over CSG developments in this country. And we will continue to fight for those controls, and we will continue to fight for the right of farmers groups and environmental groups to take developers and governments, for that matter, to court if their approval processes have not been followed appropriately. We will fight Tony Abbott's legislation, which Malcolm Turnbull is continuing with, to do away with the fundamental democratic right to take your own government to court when they haven't abided by their own laws. Ours was. Friends, ours was a government that delivered for country Australia, and we didn't do that by accident. We did it because there were ministers who were focused on the needs of regional Australia, who came out to regional communities and talked to them about health needs, talked to them about education needs and infrastructure needs. But we also did it because we had a dedicated group in our caucus who relentlessly, vociferously made the case for country Australia. And you know the people that I'm talking about. The question, though, that we should be reflecting on in this conference and in the next 12 months is, did we make the case around that investment? Did we get out and spruik that record of extraordinary achievement sufficiently in country Australia? From the leadership of the party to the newest member of the Labor Party, were we out there in the clubs, in the pubs, in the shopping centres of country Australia, making the case for that extraordinary legacy that comes from the Rudd and Gillard governments? And I think we all agree that we can do better on that. Getting out shadow ministers to country electorates, making sure we've got focused advertising, and taking the fight up to the National Party. Taking the fight up to this party that pretends to be the party of country Australia, but so often sacrifices the interests of its constituency for the interests of the big end of town. So that is what I want us to reflect upon over the course of this day, because it is a critically important period, friends. This next 12 months is the period leading into a very important election for Australia's future. Labor across the country has one overriding task in front of us, and that is to ensure the election of a Shorten-led federal Labor government. That is our first and foremost job as every party member in this country. And we know what we need to do that. We know we need to be a united party, a disciplined party. And I can tell you at the highest levels in the caucus in Canberra, we know that too often we let our party down over recent years. Too often we let our nation down. We allowed our soap opera, our disunity, our lack of internal discipline to distract from that extraordinary legacy of policy achievements that I just outlined and that Justine referred to. And I have to say, friends, as a caucus member and as our party's national president, I am so glad that we come to this conference in better shape, with a greater level of unity under Bill Shorten's leadership than I've seen for far too long in our party, and I can assure you that unity will continue. We also need to be able to present a compelling alternative vision to the people of Australia. Even when we were fighting Tony Abbott, who, face it, was about as popular as European carp to a fisherman. Even when we were facing Tony Abbott, we had to resist the temptation of the so-called small target strategy. This idea that we'd be able to roll up into a small ball and coast into government. Friends, we know Labor has never taken office without a compelling alternative vision. The Conservative Party might be able to do it, but the people of Australia expect better from us. We have to set out a bold vision, because Australians know that our country, in so many respects, is at a crossroads, and we need some clever thinking about how to make sure that we grasp the opportunities and meet the challenges of the 21st century. And again, as the party president and as a member of Shadow Cabinet, I'm so glad to tell you that Bill Shorten gets this. Bill Shorten gets the fact that even when we were facing Tony Abbott, when he was plummeting in popularity, our job was to present a compelling vision. He's doing that in education, he's doing that in renewable energy, and you'll see over the course of the next several months he will continue to do that in every policy area that is important to the Australian people. Country Labor has an enormous amount to contribute to this task, friends, an enormous amount. We want to know your ideas. We want those ideas to be bravely, forcefully put within the party. We want the best candidates in the field, fighting in every one of the 150 electorates in the House of Representatives, and we need your energy to work to make sure that those people are elected. They do join the caucus. We get to a majority government, and we have the ideas of Country Labor right at the forefront of a Shorten government agenda. Politics in Australia is in a really interesting phase. We're going through this enormous change with the 24/7 media cycle, really a low level of tolerance for politicians who frankly just talk garbage. In the country, politics is perhaps even in a greater state of flux. As I said, country Australians, it seems to me, are waking up to the National Party. Across this land, they're waking up to the National Party, telling their constituents at a local level one thing and doing something completely different when they get to Canberra. Subordinating the interests of their constituencies to the interests of the Liberal Party. Subordinating the interests of their constituencies, as Justine said with their new president, to the interests of multinational companies that want to extract the resources from our country and make a dollar out of it. This forum is such an important time for us to think, how do we make sure Bill Shorten is our Prime Minister and this country gets back on track? How do we make sure that country issues are at the forefront of the agenda that Bill takes to the Australian people and then seeks to implement in his time in the Lodge? This is a great initiative. I really want to congratulate everyone who's been involved in bringing this forum together. As the party president, I want to see this become a permanent feature, a feature that grows across the country. We know from all of our anecdotal dealings with party members across Australia, we know from our research of party members want to be involved more. They want more influence in electing their leader, in electing their party president, in electing their delegates to their national conference. But more than anything else, party members tell us time and time again they want more influence over policy. And this is the way to get it. Coming together, testing ideas, proposing stuff in the statements that are proposed in the agenda. Ideas that you might think, oh, maybe they're a bit left field. Try them out here. This is the safe place to come up with bold, ambitious ideas for Bill Shorten and Joel Fitzgibbon and the rest of us to implement in government. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I really look forward to